Hello, Titans fans. Welcome to the Two-Tone Crew, a surprise early episode. This is number 148, and last year we frequently recorded on Sundays after the game. It just hadn't worked out for our schedules this year, but happy to be back again tonight with Jamal and Scotty with me as well. Got the whole crew here, and lots to talk about, guys. As usual with this team. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we are the official podcast of TitansReport.com. Titans Report is a fan website where many dedicated fans go and talk about the Titans all throughout the week on the message boards there. So, Scotty, Jamal, welcome back.
What's up?
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. That was nice. See, I threw it to you both to test you guys there. Nice job. Yeah, so guys, 6-3. I mean, wasn't pretty, but the Titans find themselves at 6-3. And at some point, this whole winning ugly thing, I mean, at some point, you just got to say, hey, it's good to be able to win games, even when you have the types of mistakes that we're making. And Scotty, I think you said it in one of your posts after the game. It wouldn't be so infuriating if they didn't look so good at times and didn't look so bad at other times. But let's start positive, because I think people give us too much flack. They say we're too negative here. So let's start positive. 6-3, obviously initial thoughts, just huge to get to 6-3, especially seeing what's going on around the league right now, especially AFC.
I just think without knowing how the season went or anything, if you thought they were 6-3 before the season started, you'd be pretty happy.
Take it and run. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Once you get to 6-3, you've really got a good chance of making the playoffs, unless you're really going to mess up down the stretch. And they've set themselves up well, despite the fact that Jacksonville keeps hanging around. They've set themselves up well to have a really good shot at this, and end up having a really good shot at. I mean, hey, if they said last week, they could always even get a bye. I mean, you've got few enough losses at this point that you get on a little run here, and they start adding up.
Yeah, especially with the Steelers we're going to Pittsburgh, but Steelers coming up next. I mean, they're just one game ahead of us right now in wins, and Patriots are about to join them here. We're recording this Sunday evening. Looks like the Patriots are going to coast to 7-2 as well. But, I mean, yeah, the Titans are right there along with the Chiefs and the Jags, like you mentioned. But in terms of just overall positives from this game, Jamal, I know you're just itching to talk about the defense, because for, I'd say, about 95% of this game, they were very good yet again.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you give them enough chances and they're going to do well. But, we held them in the second half. In the first half, we had the turnovers, which really helped, especially the second one. And then the offense turned it right back over. But it kind of made the drive-by-drive not look as bad. But, I mean, in the second half, drives were 4 plays at most. Their longest drive was 13 yards, and it was 5 punts. And then they had the really long pass. Yep. I mean, that's the entirety of their drives, is 5 punts and the really long pass, and then their last second try to win. So, I mean, and one of the things that I really liked was I felt like the secondary played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of defense passes out there and guys making plays on the ball.
Even when they gave up the long pass, it was more like, well, sooner or later you figured they were going to have to give up something, just because the defense had to keep going back out there after the offense wasn't doing anything. Almost didn't blame the defense for finally giving up a play.
I think I read this right. I think that was that Byard missed the tackle on that, and they said that was our lone missed tackle from the whole game. Was that play to AJ Green. But yeah, the defense, and I mean, we should caution all of this by saying that statistically, these teams they've been playing well against are not good offenses. Right. But I mean, they're really making some good plays on the ball. I thought this was probably Adoree Jackson's best game as a cornerback. I mean, he was, and heck, as an offensive player too. He's kind of being used all over the field now. But yeah, I thought he stepped up a lot, and they did put Ryan on AJ Green. Scotty, I know you talking about that. They kind of used him to shadow Green for most of the day, and the pass that went for the big touchdown, he was very close to actually batting that one away. But for most of the day, yeah, he did a great job on him. Adoree Jackson did well. Byard was so close to getting another pick. Actually, probably didn't get one because of a teammate, but hey, at the end of the day, the defense made a lot of big plays and really sort of, I mean, kept the Titans with a lead when the offense was just sputtering out there. So I said we'd start positive, so let me try to keep it positive. I thought offensively, you take the first drive of the game and the last drive, and if that was all we saw from the offense, you'd say, man, this offense is amazing. I mean, that first drive, I'm curious to see if you guys agree just in terms of looking at the season overall. That to me might have been just the best drive they've had all year, just in terms of balance, in terms of implementing enough of the exotic that's not, like so off the wall, like the run that Mariota had. I thought that was a great play because you had Adoree in there last week running. Now you put him out there and you use it to fake it. You fake it to him, and then later in the game they came back to something similar and threw it out there to him. But that first drive, man, was just a thing of beauty. I thought all the way down to the end zone.
Yeah, and they overcame. What was it, 2nd and 24?
Yeah, that penalty on Lawan, I think.
Right, and yeah, that was their best drive of the season, I'd say.
And then, of course, capped off with the drive to win the game when the bad things that we're about to talk about, after they happened and the Titans get behind, then you go out there and put together a drive with your backs against the wall, and just great play after great play. I mean, what more can we say about Delanie Walker? That guy is he's always in the right place, always makes the big catch when you need him to. And yet again, he didn't get the touchdown, but I mean, he made that big catch that really jump started that drive and took it from, okay, we're getting a few chunks here and there to, okay, big gain, let's go and let's win this thing. And then, of course, Murray to get the go-ahead score made a great play there, diving to get in there. Despite the running game woes, he's still solid in the passing game. But yeah, Jamal, what'd you think about that last drive? Mariota being able to bounce back. He took a lot of hits that second half. He had the pick, and yet they go down and get the game winner.
I mean, it was huge. And he had a couple of throws in that game where he's hitting tight windows. It was really well done. And when they went ahead, it was the first time in the game where I was like, wow, we might actually lose. Like I've been saying, like it reminded me of the Ravens playoff game where we just dominated and lost anyway. But then they scored and went ahead, and I was like, man. So now we actually have to get a drive. Like you have one chance, you have to get a drive. And I had some doubt, and they dispelled that. It was nice to see. And my thoughts on the offense aren't as negative as the score, because they had long drives that resulted in nothing because of individual mistakes that, while that matters, the offense as a whole, like if you just look at how regularly were they moving the ball, and what like percent of their plays were actually effective, it was much better than in previous weeks. I mean, I think they had like 400 yards of offense or something.
Yeah, it was a lot like the Raven game where it looked like they were dominating the game, and just a few misplays kept the game close.
Yep.
And I thought after Mariota threw the interception, I think he was playing so cautious that he wasn't throwing the ball when he could have. You know what I mean? He was trying to avoid another mistake. And then I told John in the game thread that I thought the offense would play better if they fell behind. And that's exactly what happened. Because then he had to throw the ball, and once that happened, he looked just like he did early in the game.
Yeah, you were right. He was kind of shaky in the pocket too. I don't know if that D line got to him, but they sacked him 4 times, so they got to him quite a bit in this game. But yeah, he was not moving as well as he has in the pocket, even in the first half. First half, I thought he was playing spectacular, and then second half, the pick sort of got things, like you said, sort of spiraling downward. But yeah, the offense, we can start talking about some of the negatives now because 24-20, we're all thrilled to get a win, but the Titans should have won this game going away. I mean, the talent disparity, I thought, was clear from the first two drives of the game. I mean, you could tell that the Titans were the better team, and it didn't work out because, like you said, there were a couple of plays, and everybody knows the plays, but I'll reference them anyway. The play when Richard just dropped the wide open, perfectly thrown ball that would have been a touchdown. Then you have the interception, which, like you said, Jamal, the defense had let them get that far, but then they made a play, got the fumble, got the ball back. Then we turn around and give it to them. And so that's basically handing them 7 with the pick. And then the other one was the Corey Davis running into the end zone at the 1-yard line, stretching it out, fumble, goes through the end zone. Say what you want about the rule, but it was a fumble and took away 7 points. And so, I mean, I posted on Titans Report. That's a 21 point. If you go ahead and count the extra point, I mean, that's 21 points before you even start talking about suck up missing, which I think we can give the guy a pass after how many he made in a row. But yeah, I mean, that's 24 points. Like you said, Jamal, that they were clearly moving the ball up and down the field. And just for a couple of these mistakes were held out of the end zone.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at it, we had an 11-play drive for 84 yards that got no points. And we had a 10-play drive for 69 yards that got no points. And that one went down to like the 1-inch line. There's a time where you should just look at statistics, and there's a time where you have to use your brain. And I think this is one of the first games in a while where as I look at the offense, I feel like, okay, if this is the offense, I trust it more going forward. Like, I feel like I can project positives from this game. The last couple of games, it's like, I guess we did well enough when we had to, but man, the offense as a whole just kind of scared me. So I'm happy with it overall.
They were 7 of 15 on third downs, which they'd been pretty bad on third downs. They were also 3 for 3 in the red zone again. They were 3 for 3 last week too. So those two things have improved, which was 2 of their big problems.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Bengals apparently really good again in the red zone against the defense. Scotty, you might want to back up the mic just a little bit. I think we're getting just a tad of the breathing there. There we go. But yeah, I had no idea the Bengals' red zone defense was. I think Malarkey said they were number 1 red zone defense.
That's what I had heard as well. That's what I was going to say. Number 1 red zone defense, and we actually performed there.
Yeah, and let's talk about the running game because it's still not quite right. If you look at the numbers, it's actually. The numbers are better than what you remember. Henry, 11 carries, 52 yards, average 4.7. He did have that long of 23. But then you had 3 carries from Adoree Jackson for 30 yards. Marcus had to carry 6 times, 51 yards. DeMarco, 14 carries for 42 yards. So, I mean, when you throw all those numbers out there, it's like that doesn't seem all that bad. But they're having to try anything and everything to run the ball. I mean, they're really having to scheme to get gains on runs. I mean, It's not like last year when we could just line up and blow people off the line and run the ball. And I posted during the game, I really feel like we're seeing the offense evolving before our eyes, whether I don't know if it's turning into what so many people wanted, but it is absolutely changing. It changed today drastically. I mean, Mariota threw the ball 44 times. Man, I don't even know when the last time he threw the ball that many times was. So they're throwing a lot, and Adoree Jackson's getting more involved in the offense. So they're really trying everything they can to get this running game going. And I don't know how long they're going to be able to get by like that because, I mean, if the passing game is able to, like if Richard makes that catch and Corey Davis doesn't fumble at the 1, we might not even be talking so much about it. But in a game when it's this close, that running game, at some point, I feel like it's going to come back to bite them, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, if they can get the passing game going, it'll change the way defenses play them. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, when you want to be a smash mouth team, you want to be a run first team. Even, and I was posting, I think, on Twitter at the time, but that last first and goal from what was it, the 6 or the 7 yard line? You would like, and we had held the ball for like 40 minutes at that point. You would like at that point to be able to say, okay, now we enforce our will. We're going to score a TD just running the ball. But we had so much trouble running the ball this game. It was understandable when they went to the pass instead. And that's to a certain extent unfortunate because it's kind of dangerous. And fortunately, it worked out where we got the touchdown.
What's your take, Scotty, on this running game?
Well,
They did a lot of scheming today.
I think they can still keep doing what you're talking about. I mean, they're pretty, I guess, exotic when it comes to that kind of stuff. But what I'd like to see is I'd like to see their stats. Like Murray had the most carries, 14 yards, and he averaged 3 yards. I would like to see their stats when they just gave it to the running back, regular I formation
Right.
or between the tackles. That's when it's pretty spare. But they actually can manufacture rushing yards with Mariota and
And now
Jackson
Dory. Yep.
and Taylor. And
Yep.
they actually can do that. I mean, they can do it every week to a degree. But I think like on the goal line, short yardage, that kind of stuff. Even
Yeah,
though
that's going to be able to run it.
I think they actually have decent stats on short yardage rushing.
Yeah, I think Henry,
He's
up
4 or
until a
5
week
or
ago,
something like that.
up until either a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he had done like he had been successful in every 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 that he had been given. I know that was a stat at one point, but yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, as mobile as Mariota is, you can do a lot of scheming around that. And now adding the wrinkles with the Dory, I'm sure they're going to continue to add more, even if they don't actually do it very often. It becomes yet another thing the defense has to prepare for. And there were quotes after the game where the defenders were saying,
I was about to say.
Tennessee shows us a ton of different looks, a bunch of different formations. They're a complex offense. They're hard to handle. I mean, adding a Dory in there, how many coaches typical we don't play rookies, let alone play rookies who are defenders, unilaterally say no to Adoree Jackson? And they're saying, sure, bring him in. It adds wrinkles. And I think that's a credit to the staff that they're getting him involved.
Yeah, the quote was from their cornerback, Dre Kirkpatrick. He said, quote, "They were doing different stuff the whole game. I'm going to tip my hat to their offensive coordinator. I thought Pittsburgh was bad, but those guys had a lot of plays, a lot of formations."
Also, the play action passing game is one of the best in the league, despite their running game problems. So it could very easily get them at some point, especially bad weather down the stretch. But right now, they're getting by with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when as you talk about it, it's like, well, if they make a catch and if they don't fumble, there's 14 more points right there. And like you'd said earlier, Jamal, I mean, they were moving the ball all day. And the Bengals, one of the better pass defenses in the league. And we faced quite a few of them lately and face another one this coming week, but they had a big couple of injuries today, so I don't know how stout they'll be this week in terms of the Steelers. But yeah, my tweet today after the game, it's like this team, man, it's like every game we have all these flaws and these miscues that we can point out. Yet at the end of the day, they're 6-3 and they're tied for a division lead. And the team they're tied with, they beat on the field handily. So it's crazy. Right now, it looks like the Jags and Titans are both headed for a playoff spot. And we were talking right before we hit record. There's so many bad teams when you just look around the league. I mean, bad team after bad team. We just keep talking about, man, their schedule's easy. Man, their schedule's easy. Man, their schedule's easy. It's like everybody's schedule is starting to look easy because so many of these bad teams are really starting to show how bad they are. I mean, you look at the AFC right now. I was looking at it before we started recording. It's like you got Pittsburgh and I started to say Indy, Pittsburgh and New England, who are at the top right now just in terms of record. Then you've got the Titans and Jags, both right there at 6-3. The Chiefs are 6-3. After that, it's like you look around, what else is there? I mean, the Bills have kind of fallen totally off the map, and it's just a really weird division or whole
The
conference.
Bills got walked on by New Orleans today. I heard a stat that at one
Almost
point
literally. I mean,
New
they
Orleans
ran.
they ran the ball 24 times in a row at one point. Is the stat I heard? That's absurd.
That's insane. Kamara and what's his name? Ingram were both well over 100 yards today, I believe. I have
If the
Kamara in fantasy.
if the New Orleans staff would just let Breeze throw the ball,
Imagine how
Tried
good
that
they'd be.
for a few years. Yeah, it's just such a weird year. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but
Mhm.
yeah, and so it's another good reason we're getting the podcast out early this week because the Titans are on a short week. They've got the
Right.
Steelers Thursday night. And as I alluded to there just moments ago, I mean, the Steelers lost Joe Hayden today, probably their top cornerback. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. And I think they lost a safety too. I
Mike
haven't-
Mitchell, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long he's going to be out. But yeah, they barely beat Indy. And honestly, for most of the game, they look pretty bad. And then Roethlisberger kind of turned it on at the end. But this is a game that you look at now as kind of a measuring stick game for the Titans. I mean,
Mhm.
it's one thing to hold on and beat teams like the Browns and the Bengals and the Ravens, but now you're facing a team that has the best record in the AFC. And we touched on it last week, Jamal. I mean, if they win this game, then all of a sudden you're starting to talk about potential for first round buys, which is amazing that we're having that conversation.
I think that yeah, it's just interesting with Pittsburgh. Didn't they get walked on by Jacksonville when they played? Like they were
Yes,
they got
destroyed.
Pretty bad.
smoked. They're not a good team. Like they're managing to win, right? But they're not a good team. And
They're saying
Roethlisberger,
it about us.
they probably are. Because
They're a lot like the Titans, honestly. If you didn't see the games and just saw how they played out,
Yeah.
they barely beat the Browns in the opener. They had to come back and beat the
21-18. I pulled it up. Jags beat them 30-9. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw off your point, Jamal, but continue about
no,
the
I was
Steelers there.
I mean, the thing about the Steelers with me is I would have thought, and in fact, in fantasy, I basically bet on this. Getting back Martavis Bryant, that their offense would just be insane. And instead, it's like, wow, maybe Ben should have retired.
Mm.
Like, I don't know how many games start out where at halftime you're looking at it and the guy has done nothing. Back to scrape away a win. I mean, they're a very beatable team. Like we were talking about, nobody is great this year. They are a beatable team.
Yep.
It's too bad it's happening on Thursday night, though, because that's just such a wild card.
Yeah, Thursday nights are weird. The way those
That's why
games usually go down.
it was so important for them to beat the Ravens and Bengals so that this game wasn't a must win.
Right.
They
Right,
can
and-
afford to lose this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
The nice thing I was going to say it at one point, and just before we get too far away from talking about this past
game.
week, we've beaten now a number of AFC teams, which is really helpful in tiebreakers. These last three games are very meaningful. The fact that we won them,
Yeah. 4 in a row now that we've won.
beat the AFC teams when you play them.
Yep. I mean, I was starting to do some preliminary glance at the tiebreakers. The only bad part right now is all three losses of ours are AFC losses, whereas I think the Steelers and Chiefs both have one NFC loss. But obviously, there's still so much to be played. One thing I will say, everybody kind of looking at schedules and talking about Jags have such an easy schedule, and they do. But when you look at those rankings, as soon as the Titans play the Steelers, ours is going to dramatically drop in terms of difficulty of what you've got remaining. Because after that, listen to this stretch. You get the Colts, Texans at home, Then you go to the Cardinals, to the 49ers, maybe face Jimmy Garoppolo by then. Then you come home for the Rams, and then you got the Jags. So it's like once the Steelers game falls off there's no quality opponent left except for Rams and Jags to close out the year. So, I mean, all this talk about easy schedule, Titans have almost as easy of a schedule as the Jags do. And the Jags, I think, really the only tough game they have left is going to be Seattle, and then our game to close out the year. But this Steelers game, I mean, like you said, it's not a must. It's certainly not a win they have to have. But if we get to 7-3 with that 4-game schedule coming up, man, I mean, you at that point, barring any big injuries, you got to be feeling really good about the position they're in.
Because of the head-to-head win against the Jags too, the Titans can go into that game a game behind.
Yeah.
And I also trust the Jags less than I do the Titans as far as blowing games. I think the Jags can lose to anyone on their schedule more so than the Titans would. I know their defense is good and everything, but they still got Blake Bortles, and you still can't hide your quarterback.
I don't think we hit record yet when we were talking about today's game, were we, for the Jags?
I don't know how they got to overtime. I was looking at it at one point. I was like, "Oh, hey, interception!" Like it had to be under a minute left or something, and they were down by 3, and they threw an interception. I was like, "Game over." The heck did the Chargers do? And why do the Chargers always do that?
It's amazing.
They are amazing at blowing games. Like they're one of the best teams in the NFL. If you cut out the fourth quarter, especially, but like even cut it down to like the last 5 minutes, they're one of the best teams in the NFL up until that point. And then they just fall apart.
Yeah, that's how the Jags did it. They happened to be playing the one team that can lose a game like that, and does every week.
And then next week they go to the Browns, which at some point I feel like Cleveland's going to win one. Maybe one.
Looked like it today at first.
They've been starting off pretty good the past couple of weeks, and then just can't hang on. But yeah, that'd be awesome if the Browns could knock them off. But yeah, they go to the Browns, then they're at the Cardinals, Colts, Seahawks. They get the Jags, get the Seahawks at home, so in Jacksonville, and then Texans.
I think the Cardinals and Colts are scrappy type teams that I think could play the Jaguars close.
Yeah, especially those division games. They're always so kind of crazy anyway. And then they finish out at 49ers and at the Titans. But yeah, Thursday Night Football, Titans' second primetime game of this year. And who knows, they might get another one moved the way the record's going right now. Might have one moved to Sunday Night Football later in the year. Wouldn't be surprising. Actually, I would guess that CBS will probably protect that Titans-Jags game because don't they have like a right to protect one game or something? But it very well could get moved, given the
that could be the game of that could be the game of the week, depending on how it plays out.
Yeah, some people in Titans Report were talking about it's crazy that like if the season ended right now, the Titans and Jags would actually play in the first round of the playoffs.
I'm sorry, I'm reading about this Jags game. Have you guys actually looked to see how they won this?
Didn't they actually throw 2 interceptions near the end?
They threw 2 interceptions in the final 2 minutes.
Oh my! How?
3. And the Chargers. So after the first one, the Chargers fumbled it on the next play. And then the Jags got the ball back and threw an interception again. And then the Chargers went 3 and out and kicked it back to him with 58 seconds left.
Oh, my goodness.
And then they drove down, got a tying field goal. They threw 2 interceptions in the final 2 minutes, down 3, and they won. What the heck, man? That's impossible.
Joey Bosa also had a terrible roughing the passer penalty that helped the Jags out a lot, too.
People talking about that, yeah. All right, so what do you guys think about this Pittsburgh game? I mean, I think we've obviously said they're beatable. I feel like the Titans are absolutely going to be in the game, and it's going to be huge considering that they lost 2 of their big defenders. Now, I'm sure they've got a good pass rush. I mean, they always have, even without LeBeau, they always have exotic blitzes, it seems. But I actually feel really confident about this game. Titans just have a history of playing to the level of competition, both
Yeah.
for good and bad, as we've seen. And recent history, I feel like we always play the Steelers close. I mean, they
Huh.
always have close games against Pittsburgh. And I could see us. This game against the Bengals. I thought was a game we would blow them out, and we very well should have, given those little miscues we talked about. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Titans won this game. I'm still thinking on my prediction, though.
So,
I'll
correct me if
listen to
I'm
what you
wrong.
guys say.
This is our best record since 2008, right? I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
And isn't 2008 the game where we were blowing our noses in the terrible towel and stomping on it and everything, right? We won. Isn't that the year?
Yeah, and they blew the Steelers
when
out in that game.
when the curse began.
Yeah. So it history is repeating itself, and we're gonna beat them. Now, I actually don't have a great feeling about this. Thursday night football, I generally think that the home team has a huge advantage. And in general, I think they'd be favored anyway. So you add those two things together. I think it's a challenge. I haven't watched enough games this year to have a good feel for the team, though. So beyond the fact that Bell is good and Brown is added value, I really don't know a lot about them this year.
I think it's very winnable because the Steelers sputter so much and it'll stay close. But at the same time, I could see this being the game where the lack of a running game and the inconsistency on the offense, if they do against the Steelers what they did today and keep punting over and over again,
Oh yeah.
I figure the Steelers will be the kind of team that would make them pay for that. So I actually would pick the Steelers, just if nothing else because of the short week on the road Thursday night. On top of the other stuff, but it's very winnable. And if they do win it, then I think you can really talk about buys and
Start talking
stuff.
about buys. Yep.
Yeah, but I would pick the Steelers.
Man, I want a home playoff game so bad. I'm like, because you look at it, it's like, okay, Jags and Titans both have a good shot of making the playoffs right now. But forget just making the playoffs. Let's win this division. And you get the win over the Steelers, and all of a sudden, I talked last week about flying under the radar. If they beat the Steelers, then that's out the window.
Yeah.
7-3, tied for best record. Well, given pending what the Patriots do, but one of the best records in the AFC. How about you, Jamal? You got a pick?
Yeah, no, I do think I'd pick Pittsburgh for the reasons stated. I think just the short week, they're the home team, and in general, I think they'd probably be favored anyway. That I'd take Pittsburgh. I don't expect to win. I'd like to be competitive and certainly have a chance to win this game, but it's one of the first games in a long while, I feel like, where I'm not walking into it expecting to win.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of hopeful that we perform well and have a chance at it.
And given that we won those other two, like we said, that certainly lessens the sense of urgency of feeling like you've got to have this game. But let's just rewind the clock and just take John Boy back to my very positive days of being the lone optimist. I'm going to say we win the game. Yeah.
Those weren't good years for us, John.
I'm going to say we win this game. And
There you go.
I'm going to say Corey Davis finally gets him one this week.
Needs
Doesn't fumble at the one. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
hopefully.
has looked like a rookie who missed almost all year, hasn't he?
Yeah. They've been he played I think he was one snap behind Richard today, and he had,
Well, he had
a lot of
10
lot of
targets, I think.
I hate
10
the
targets.
targets stat, but because like some of them were clearly over the head. But yeah, I mean Marcus was definitely looking to him a lot.
I think.
What do you guys think about the play where he fumbled?
I think he was just.
You gotta just hang on to the ball and not stretch it out there.
Yeah, just take the gain. I mean, you can't say enough about Murray, what he did. That was huge because they were out of timeouts, I believe, and they needed a touchdown. I mean, and he went up under. He did it really smart. Davis was just trying to score a touchdown, and he was way too far away to be stretching the ball out. And had he just taken the gain to the one or whatever, it would have still been a huge play and been fine.
Right.
It was just a stupid rookie mistake.
Yep.
And that rule, I hate it.
Yeah, I agree. It's
I actually was
a weird
in an
one.
argument with some family about that rule 2 weeks ago. So you can't even say that it's the homer in me talking. I hate that rule. It makes no sense.
It
It
really
makes
doesn't.
0 sense. But whatever.
99 yards the rest of the way, a fumble out of bounds. No penalty if you're the offense.
If I fumble too far, that means that I'm doing it worse. What? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know
Um,
what the right response would be though. Like, do you just give it back to him at the one, just like you would if it was out of bounds,
I heard some people say give it back to them at the 20. Give the Titans the ball back at the 20 and
and like give him a first down?
no, whatever down it was going to be or whatever. I mean, if you
Hmm.
did it on third down, it's still third down, but I mean, I don't know what you do there, but regardless, that is the rule, and he still stretched the ball
yeah,
out.
yeah. There are a lot of rules that it's the rule, and you have to abide by it. And if you if you re-envision how that rule works, it changes the nature of the game so fundamentally. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm an idiot, but when you fumble the ball and it goes out of bounds, the ball counts at that point on the field. So you fumble the ball out of the end zone, the ball reached the end zone and it's in your possession. Touchdown. Works for
I
me.
can't believe
It's
Scotty didn't take
consistent
the
with everything.
chance right there when you said maybe
I
I'm
was
an
talking too
idiot.
fast.
I stopped listening to him a while ago.
When he said maybe I'm an idiot, I was just waiting for the quip to
Well,
reply.
he was actually wrong about what he said though. You don't get the ball where the if you fumble the
No.
ball out of bounds, you only get it there if it goes backwards. If it goes forwards, you get it where the player fumbled the ball.
Well, then that's the answer. Right there where he fumbled the ball. Put it there.
Right.
Consistency makes sense. I don't know
That's
why they
probably
change
true.
it there,
Yeah.
but
Just give it to him there.
whatever. It is what it is. We know.
It would be a huge bonus though if the offense got to fumble right there through the end zone and got to keep the ball.
Because then you can automatically stretch like every time with no worry.
Yeah, you'd be trying Superman stuff 5 yards away, like Davis did today.
You don't know what direction you're going to fumble it in, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That
All right.
that actually has cost a few teams this year way bigger than it cost the Titans today. I mean, the Rams would have probably beat Seattle if Gurley didn't do that. And Tampa Bay was it? No, it was the Jets in New England, wasn't it? Yeah,
There
it
was
was.
something weird in that Jets New England
Yeah, it
game.
was Jenkins, the tight end that used to play for the Buccaneers. He fumbled going in or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
and it would have given the Jets a pretty good lead over the Patriots in that game.
That's
So,
right.
so that play has actually been the difference in some big games this
There
year.
was a college Tennessee
Belichick would have
Vols
won anyway. He would have found a way.
a couple of years ago where it made a big difference in a Tennessee Vols
Mhm.
game, a play like that. After the short week, then the Titans get kind of a little mini bye leading up to the Colts game. So got a 2-game road stretch here after having these 2 back-to-back home games. And I think Brissett's actually in the concussion protocol right now. So I'd say he'll be ready by 2 weeks from now, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I saw they were making a big deal about him going back into the game because he got hammered.
Oh, did he
And he
actually
was,
go back in? Ah, interesting.
yeah, and he was kind of out on his feet, and it was pretty obvious he was groggy.
Yeah, there were some questions about did Mariota there's something going on there with him. It seems like he's fine, but we saw from some people commenting on Titans Report saying that he was like coughing up blood or something. I saw Kaharski just you guys see it? Kaharski tweeted out the video of it. You can see him like on the sidelines and it just looks like a normal cough. But at first I saw someone said vomiting blood. I'm like, oh geez, he's done for the
I'm
week.
convinced that's people with like an analog TV. They can't actually tell what they're looking at, but they need to go get yourself a nice flat screen, high def TV, and you'll be able to see that's just a cough.
Black Friday, man, this year you can get them. They're like 55-inch TV for $200. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah. They're
Oh,
getting
they're super
It's
cheap.
clear I haven't bought a TV in a while because my 55-inch TV was not that cheap.
yeah, it's pretty insane what you can get them for now. But yeah, there was so I mean, to be fair, Malarkey did say something happened on that play and he got shaken up. They had to take a timeout. He almost came out of the game. Well, he did kind of step out and then they called the timeout and he went back in. But I would say he just probably got the wind knocked out of him. I was actually worried about his hamstring at first more than I didn't even really see his head hit. When you go back and watch it, you can see his head does hit a little bit, but I
That's
was
what I was
afraid
worried
he
about.
messed up the hamstring or something. But he stayed in there and made a great play to end the game. They said that Murray was actually the third read on that play.
Mm-hmm. Just a check down.
Yep. And he made it happen. I mean, that's Murray's made so many plays, like just in the passing game, past couple weeks, to show why he's still worth keeping around out there. I mean, because
To
he's
show why Scotty is wrong. What?
I
Wait.
I've always praised him in the passing game. That's why Jamal was wrong last year when he said he should have been shut down. He was made so many plays in the passing game.
He should have been shut down. It's surprising no one. I agree with me still.
That he should be shut down.
Yeah, last year.
You-
If you want to use him, it's same as this year in many ways. Where if he's just consistently ineffective running the ball, fine, make him the third down back. I mean, we talked about this after week 2 or something, where it's a struggle. But then Derrick Henry has not stepped up to the plate. It seems like so. Then they're kind of stuck in this weird spot. But I was going to ask, do you guys want to play a game called Predict the Injury? It's a short week. What injury is DeMarco Murray going to get this week against the Steelers? Because you know he's going to get at least one.
I'm going to say the hamstring flares back up. That's always a safe bet.
I think this game he'll stay injury free.
Oh, man.
Just because I predicted it.
It's really going
the
out.
unexpected wrist injury. No.
Wrist injury. Okay.
But
Who knows?
back to the point though, I kind of think they have made Murray the pass catcher. It's not strictly third down, but they do give Henry the a lot of the obvious running plays. I mean, what do you have? 11 carries, and he carries a lot of the short yardage stuff. So I kind of think they've already done that.
They're definitely in the middle of a shift, which is to a certain extent that's kind of awkward, just because I think both backs are better suited to a heavy load. But they're not going to get that. So it's just where we're at. I mean, it's one of the many things that they're trying to get this running game going, and it's a struggle. It's a slog. I think I don't have it up anymore. I thought I had it up. I was looking for my window, but I think DeMarco had 14 carries to Derrick Henry's 11.
11 for Henry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
so on the rushing plays, it's kind of is a 50-50 deal. And it was a couple weeks ago, but I remember in the 2-minute warning, they were 3rd and 1. They ran Murray off the field and ran Henry on, and he got the 3rd and 1, and then Henry ran back off the field, and Murray finished the drive. So they already are kind of doing what we're talking about.
Obviously, way too early, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. What do you guys see happening with the running back situation next year?
I don't think you can keep Murray.
I mean, it's kind of the point where it's like, they might need to draft one. I don't know how early, but
He's not going to get better next year. I mean, he's near the end anyway.
I don't, just because he refuses to ever take a game off despite being injured. I don't know that he would take it well, getting unseated as the lead guy. And it's kind of happening this year, so maybe it would be an incremental thing and he'd be better at handling it, but it'd be a problem if he's no longer the starter and he's just the backup. I don't think he'd like that. And I think that could be a contentious thing, even if it's just a slow simmer contentious thing. So I'd be uncomfortable if they're coming into next year with the same two guys. It would make me very uncomfortable. But I don't think that they're going to go out and draft a guy high. Maybe they'll take another guy who, 4th round, 5th round, who maybe can step up. But I don't see it being somebody they're going to bring in to really compete for the lead back role next year.
I think my biggest concern is beforehand, last year we thought, oh man, we've got our Murray replacement. Henry can be that
Exactly.
bell cow back. And now it's like he may still very well be, but you're really starting to see some signs that, man, maybe this guy is not going to be anything more than just a situational or kind of change it up type back, sort of like what they're doing with him now. When last year I thought he might be the guy going
Mhm.
forward.
He might be more of a LeGarrette Blunt type, and that's
Yeah.
all he ever is. But I mean, he can be the all around guy. It's still too early because
Yeah, it's definitely too early. I'm
it's.
just saying maybe start
I
to think about it.
remember, y'all probably didn't follow the team, but when they had Eddie George, he didn't play in any of the passing downs and stuff, and he just ran the ball for the most part, and they brought
Yeah.
someone else in, and so Henry could still learn this stuff.
Oh
And
yeah,
who knows if
still
he was the
young.
lead back? Yeah, if he was the lead back, but I guess it depends on what they think of Henry.
Mhm.
They don't have to pay Murray next year, so if they get rid of him, it's completely off the cap.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you can bring him back.
All
Yeah,
right.
I almost expect them to, but it's just going to make me uncomfortable.
And there's still a lot of football left to be played
Hmm.
this year too. I mean, who knows? I just thought it was interesting to kind of start thinking about that because there's definitely I mean, there's definitely going to be something that you would
I've
hope
already,
should
yeah,
change there.
I've already thought about it, and it's just so
Yeah.
obvious it's something they're going to have to decide on.
And maybe you look at improving, trying to get a guard as well to try and help the running game because obviously you're not the tackles are locked in and guards and centers they might be more willing to change up there. But all right, I just thought I'd bring it up. So short week this week. We will not be doing another pot. This will be our podcast for the week. So we might be moving to Sundays now. We'll see. Although the Thursday night game will throw a wrench in that now. But yeah, we'll see how
That's
it
true.
goes. We might try and start moving back to Sundays. I just love talking about the game when it's so fresh in your mind and it's
Mhm.
still, man, it was so good to get a win, get to 6-3. But Titans they can't get a win without taking you on a little roller coaster first. So always fun to come and chat with you guys about it after the fact. All right, anything else before we hop off here? Had so much to talk about, and I feel like it was actually a shorter episode. Although Google Hangouts will not tell me how long it's been.
It's been a little bit less than an hour. I would say that
That's what I was
we
thinking.
probably going less time because there's less to analyze. I mean, when we go midweek, we got lots of coaching analysis and comments, and hey, I listened to this podcast and they were talking about that, and
Slow mo of
different stuff.
Mariota coughing up the blood.
Hey, I'll bring something up. How about the play to Decker right before the half? Was that awesome or what?
Ooh, yeah.
Decker's side of it was awesome too. I mean, give yourself up
Oh
instantly.
yeah, I mean you could tell that's something they practice a lot.
Mhm.
It's funny how these situations come up in games and teams practice. They probably spend more time practicing situational stuff than they do just regular stuff.
Well, and I mean,
Right.
how long had they? How many times did they practice the Music City Miracle before they unleash it in that moment?
Right, every Saturday in the
Right.
walkthroughs, they said.
Yeah.
A play that has a high chance of never even being seen.
Right.
Oh, I know one thing. Here, we can close out with this. This whole Adoree Jackson on offense stuff. How much further are they going to take it? Because we saw him, one play last week. This week, he got quite a few more. They mixed it up. They did a little bit more. I think it's here to stay now, given I mean, every time he touches the ball, the guy's like,
Mhm.
geez, he's electric. He can go so many yards just in a second.
You know who he's like? Devin Hester, except he's a better
Mhm.
cornerback. At least I
Yeah,
hope he
he's a
is.
he's a real cornerback at least.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, for a rookie, I think he's had a pretty darn good season as a cornerback so far.
and he's. I mean, I have to slobber on the coaching staff. He's on. He's in the perfect offense where they can use him on stuff like
Mm.
that. That's
Yeah.
those guys are the kind of coaching staff that can put that stuff in just for him.
They're the type of coaching staff that will scheme heavily, right? And find a way to get the guy on the field.
I mean,
Yes.
Adoree Jackson and Mariota on the field together, those are two of the most electric guys from college football in the past, 5 years or so?
I mean, just think the guy is playing key roles in many ways on all three phases as a rookie.
Mhm.
It's
Even though
nice.
even though it was aggravating me because they were doing it while the game was going on, but did you see the sideline reporter stretch out the rope and show his long jump?
No, I didn't catch that.
He was in they said the Olympics, but I think they actually meant the Olympic trials. He didn't go to the Olympics, right?
Nah.
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah, I think they meant the Olympic trials. He had a 25-foot long jump and they stretched the rope out on the sideline. It's just amazing someone can long jump that far, you know?
Well, I remember when he jumped over,
Oh,
was
yeah.
it the Raiders game? It was one game earlier in the
It was
year,
the first or
and
second game.
he jumped clearly over the guy, and it's like, oh, that's always cool to see. But then when you go back and slowed it down, it was actually like 10 yards that he gained by jumping over him.
And they
It's
typically
crazy.
jump over him when the defender goes low. He just jumped over the guy standing there.
Yeah, he just clearly jumped over him.
Yeah,
But it's
I was gonna
exciting to
say.
see. Go ahead, Jamal.
I was just gonna say, watching slow mo long jumps is one of the more fascinating Olympic events to watch.
Yeah, that the human body can just do that.
How they actually do it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Oh, here's a prediction I'll throw out. I've been throwing this out for like every week. I think Adoree gets the punt return this week. Finally, he's gonna get one. I
This
stopped
week he
making
did
it
not
for
come close.
Yeah, he didn't come close this week. I stopped making it for a few weeks, so I'm bringing it back this week. Maybe, who knows? Maybe that's even the difference in the game this week. Because I've been feeling like all year. I mean, he's got to get one at some point. He's been so close. But yeah, past
I
couple
think
weeks.
teams are trying not to let that happen. Early in the season was his better chance. Now
Yeah,
they're
that's true.
they're so afraid of him doing it. I think he has less of an opportunity.
Doing the more strategic kicks away from him and stuff.
I
right,
just
guys.
have to mention before
Yeah.
we go, what kind of missiles was Kern kicking today? My God. How often do you see kicks like that? It was insane.
Did you see what's his name? Pat.
You mean the punts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The dude that used to kick for Indy.
McAfee.
North Korea is going to call this. I mean, it's farther than they're launching their stuff these days.
Yeah, I saw the tweets, John, from I
Oh,
think
man.
it Pat McAfee or McAfee.
or something, yeah.
Yeah,
If
he
you
was
ever
just
watched it,
raving.
Paul,
He was yes.
find the tweet. He just goes and is just like raving about Kern last week, talking about how ridiculously hard it is. And
Suck up too. He was
Yeah.
praising Suck up too. But he was really on Kern. He's and hey, Kern, those punts are crazy.
yeah,
The
way
one
they're
that went
just
into the end zone probably could have gone the whole length of the field if we were back a little further. Even it would have rolled for a while.
the one he was tweeting about last week was the one that just like died as soon as it hit around like the 5-yard line.
Right.
Just like almost immediately stopped. But yeah, those guys. I mean, Suckup had the miss today, but he and Kern have been, in terms of consistency, they've been there from week one. And those little plays in these close games. I mean, we talked last year when the Titans just like first day of free agency. Who did they sign? Well, a bunch of special teams guys. And special teams makes a huge impact in these tight games like this that we've been barely winning. All right, guys, I think that's a good way to end it. And now we can just enjoy this victory week for the Titans leading up to a Thursday night showdown in Pittsburgh. So thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Two Tone Crew, and we will be back next week, possibly on Sunday. We'll see, given the nature of the Thursday night game. But yeah, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Titans Report. The main website is titansreport.com. We are also on Twitter @Titans Report. And where else can you find us? Voicemail line, haven't given that out in a while. 615-900-0282. Call, leave us a voicemail, let your thoughts be heard on the show. And finally, you can find us on iTunes and other podcast services. Rate and review us there. Jamal, Scotty, it's been fun as always. As long as we keep winning, these will just be very enjoyable to do each week.
Much more enjoyable this way.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy how long we've been doing this now. All right, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you all again very soon.